What's up, everybody? My name is Blue Drake, and today we're going to be talking about a project that might end up being a masterpiece that simultaneously not very many people seem to know about. No, this is not Ready or Not. No, this is not Ground Branch. No, this is not even necessarily a tactical shooter, but frankly, with how it has been developing, it's probably going to end up being, one of my favorite tactical shooters that didn't start out as a tactical shooter. Welcome to SCP Pandemic. Now, of course, if you want to check this out, links are down in the description, but also for a limited time, I happen to have a bunch of keys for this that we are giving away on our Patreon. So, if you've been thinking about supporting our project on Patreon, not only can you get a key to Operation Harsh Doorstop and our multiplayer playtest before we launch into early access, but you can also get a key for SCP Pandemic. This is only for a limited time, so go do this now, and I only have 50 of these keys available, so the next 50 people that support as a squad leader or above get SCP Pandemic and our other games. But if you guys have never heard of SCP Pandemic before, let me go into a little bit of what they have done recently. Right now we're playing the wave survival game mode, which has you fighting off waves of, I don't really necessarily want to say zombies, because whatever these are, they're kind of a little bit more intense than that, but you go between fighting off waves of these guys and then also waves of armed assailants. You have all of these different weapons that spawn throughout the map as you continue to go through waves, and you can customize them with all sorts of different attachments, which I actually think is probably one of SCP Pandemic's strongest points here. This is kind of like a zombie survival game, although not really, but it has a really strong weapon customization system. You can go in here, you can add all sorts of different sights and all sorts of different attachments for all sorts of different weapons. And the weapon handling for this game is also incredibly nice for what would otherwise just be your run-of-the-mill zombie survival shooter. It really does almost feel like Ready or Not or most of these other high-end tactical shooter games. It just isn't really marketed in that way, which I think is kind of interesting. So this is like low-key one of the better tactical shooter games out there. It's just you wouldn't normally think that when you first look at a lot of the screenshots and videos on their Steam page. Now, as far as the future of this game, I think I'm really curious to see where they go with the SCP and the tactical game mode aspects of the game, and I'm really interested in both of them. Obviously, I think that the tactical shooter mechanics are incredibly well done, but I also do enjoy the SCP universe and all of the lore, and a lot of the stuff that they're doing is going to dig much deeper into that as time goes on. They're going to be releasing a new update here soon that is going to include a hunt game mode that I think is going to make the tactical shooter aspect of the game much more interesting, because you go into an area, you have this large open objective-based mission where you can go and do a variety of different tasks that aren't just wave survival. I think that'll be something almost kind of similar to some of the Ground Branch game modes or Ready or Not game modes, but in addition to that, some of the SCP mechanics and some of the other creatures that they're going to be incorporating in future updates, I think is going to add a lot of variety to the gameplay, which when you have like a tactical shooter teamwork oriented setting fighting against SCP based creatures, I think there's a lot of interesting opportunity there that you wouldn't normally have in a standard tactical shooter. Like, Ready or Not's pretty cool, but everybody really knows what to expect there. You're going into an area with hostages and, assailants, but in this, you might go into an area with something that's going to fry your brain, or have something that's going to be like invisible and come out of the walls, or teleport you into another dimension, or just all sorts of really crazy science fiction based twists. And I think having a tactical shooter with the tense moments of Ready or Not combined with like the horror science fiction elements of the SCP universe is going to be really welcome. So of course, if you want to check this out, links down in the description. If you want to support our studio and also get a key to this for a limited time, go click the link on Patreon, check us out there, and besides that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, as always, Blue Drake loves you, at least a little bit. Alright, cheers.